Hi, Anti-Society! Welcome back to the Anti-Social Planet. Today we are checking out some more Vinland Saga, and I am stressed already because we ended off the last episode with Thorfinn watching the sunset, which should be lovely, except that I know it is symbolic of everything about to go topsy-turvy, because Thorfinn is this close to having some kind of happiness, and that means that everything has to go sideways. We have Leif, who's on the way to the farm, which is going to be reconnecting with Thorfinn's childhood and potentially his family that's still around. Whether or not that actually happens, I don't know, because we also have Knut now, who has a legitimate excuse to attack the farm because of what the basically massacre that happened. This huge violent confrontation between his guards and the owners of the farm. We'll see how that goes. We'll see how everything evolves from there. And I'm very worried about this, but I guess we're just gonna jump in and see what happens. In 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, we have like the farm, and we also have sounds of fire, which makes me think that that might be symbolic of what's about to happen. Dark clouds is also ominous. It just feels like we might be getting into pillaging. Yeah. Okay. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, fair enough. It is an interesting way of like using the tapestry as a way of showing what happened without actually showing what happened. And again, it's digging into that like cycle of violence that they've been talking about at other points in the series. Chains, though. A prisoner, perhaps? Slave? I don't think that running away is going to work out for you. Oh, especially with only one leg. He got some distance, considering, honestly. Ooh, that shadow. A little bit late for that, I'm assuming. No. Ooh. Okay, so we're dealing with another slave. Yeah, I don't think apologizing is gonna get you anywhere. Wow, the desperation there. Seeing a way out, a way of surviving. It's not gonna work, though. I feel like the rage will not be sated by begging. So this is, I'm assuming, a different farm to Thorfinn's. Yeah, saw that coming, my dude. Let her and the baby live, though. Not that that makes him a good person. But at least there's that. Her. Whomst is her? Love the framing of that though, like the darkness of the night and then having the fire lighting up the middle of it. Honestly, the visuals in this season have been amazing. Like first season was also really good, but I just feel like with this season they've been doing a lot more like artistic, specific like aesthetic shots, which is really nice. This is a new opener. I guess we're in the past the halfway mark. Interesting with the butterflies too. Ooh, the scales like justice. Ooh, interesting the water and then the blood. Also the like almost like figure of a man made out of sticks. Like a straw man, but also like an effigy of some kind, like a stand-in. I was gonna say when we had Thorfinn next to the water, I'm like, is he going to get to the sea? Interesting. I'll have to analyze more of the visuals as we go along, but definitely feels like there's some foreshadowing. Oh, I feel like that is definitely going to happen. Like it's not going to be the same, and not for the reason that you think. I don't know if I'd keep working. He owns slaves. He owns people. I'd be like, no, thank you. I don't want to be associated with you anymore. But I also kind of get like the emotional attachment to being in a specific place, right? Like for better or worse, they've made it their home, and therefore it's difficult to move on from that when you don't have like your home from before, right? Like when your hometown has been destroyed and your family is gone, you want to stay where you know people and you know the place. Sure, it's not. I feel like anyone could figure that out, just like looking at you. You're not very subtle. Wrong person? No. What does that mean? What does that mean? Is it because he's like something happened to just him or because everything's starting? I'm like tense. I'm waiting for the moment. What did we spot? I think it's interesting that Thorfinn was like immediately on the move because he knows a little bit more about dealing with high stress situations. Uh-oh. That's quite a way to fall. Just makes me even more worried. Like, I'm worried if he's not doing well. I'm also worried because the farm being attacked is like imminent, right? And if he's like bedridden, what does that mean for him? This must be so difficult for him because he has such a strong connection with like owning your like earning your keep, and he can't do that if he's like laying in bed, right? Still testy though. I don't trust you. I feel like there's more going on with her and we just don't know it yet. Because a lot of what we see of her is like through the eyes of like other characters as opposed to like her own internal perspective. I mean, her face is in some serious shadows there. He's probably gonna ask you to leave him alone. Look at how beat up her hands are. I love the little details they have with the character designs. Mm-hmm. I was gonna say, he probably says later because he doesn't want anyone to see him eating. I don't know if poking fun is the best way to get him to do what you want him to. No. Thorfinn doesn't even know how to laugh. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you gotta put your pride aside, you know? Oh, it's so nice to see them like laughing and having fun though. They're gonna jar me out of this moment. Don't go spreading those rumors. He has a image to protect. I feel like that pretty much seals the deal that he's going to stay until she's free. Wait, a third wheel. Oh no. Is this the moment? He is. You could say it nicer. The way he's just reading. Probably, yes. Yeah, I can get why having that person around would be concerning for the security of nearby establishments. You should be taking precautions anyway. You have no idea what's coming. Oh, the music has shifted too to something more ominous. Mm-hmm. The desperation. I also think it's interesting that he still has like the manacles on. Like I get that part of that's like the logistics of becoming unchained. The manacles are gonna like stay there. But it's interesting that even though he's free, he isn't like restrained anymore. He still is controlled by the fact that he was a slave, right? Like all the actions that he's taking are as a result of the fact that he is a slave. So in a way, he is still restrained in what he's doing because it's still dictating every part of his life. Oh, I'm worried. Like the tension is getting to me. I bet it's not him. I bet it's just his cloak. Why be somewhere in the open in perfect lighting? Sleeping, especially. Keep it down. You're supposed to be stealthy. Y'all gonna get hit. He opened his eyes, okay? He means this. Well, he definitely knows you're there now, even if he was asleep. Yep. Was he actually asleep then? I was like, I think it's a decoy. Good transition. Great use of this episode of like letting us know enough of what's going on without actually like depicting a bunch of the like action and violence because I feel like we're going to be getting some of that with some of the like major plot points happening later on. So it's a way of like incorporating it in and like holding some of that mystery of like the threat that's actually happening, right? We haven't seen this this man actually fight anyone yet, but we've seen the results of it. So it builds that like tension, anticipation. What are we thinking about? Is he thinking about how he's not going to stay? Because I feel like he's not going to stay here. And I feel like it's kind of, you know, it's bugging him a little bit. Interesting. Are we actually listening? interesting specific passage in relation to Thorfinn's new outlook on life. I was gonna say the change in his delivery suggests that Snake doesn't quite believe all of that. Uh-oh. Yeah, but he doesn't want to be stuck in bed. Ooh, the color grading. Like, not only do we have the overcast, but like everything's kind of been, the vibrancy has been like pulled way back. Just buddies. Hmm. I feel like there's more to that. I feel like there's more of like a personal reason why Snake seems to have a particular interest. Mm. Ooh, the sounds pulled out. Also the symbolism of like doing something very mundane and then like she hurts her hand. Like, nope. Oh, y'all survived, except we're missing one. One of you doesn't look too good. I was wondering about the horse. I'm like, the horse seems like it's one of the soldiers. Do you know him? Are you the her? No one has called him by name. That's an epic shot. So were they like captured at the same place and then were separated to different farms? Oh, okay. That's gonna complicate some things. But okay. So we're not quite diving into the conflict stuff right away, which I feel like there were some kind of setup stuff here. Not only some of the symbolism of conflict and again, that cycle of violence, right? Having people who are violent towards slaves and people that they own, and then those people carrying that anger and that rage and that violence done to them is like a way of like justice forward. And we had in the new opener the scales, and I think that they were like rebalanced with a drop of blood, like blood being the payment of that justice or that rebalancing of the scales is really interesting given the kinds of stuff that we've set up in previous parts of the season. So having again that example of the cycle of violence continuing, of being passed down from person to person, and in direct contrast to the gospel that was being quoted, right, that Thorfinn was listening to, of this idea of what do you get rewarded for loving people who love you back? There's work to that, but it's not the same as showing compassion and empathy towards people who have treated you not nicely. It's easy to be nice to people who have been nice to you. It's harder to be nice to people who haven't. And I think that it's very interesting to have Thorfinn listening to that and feeling a very specific way about it, and then having Snake be like, that's ridiculous, right? The contrast between those two people and their mindsets on the world. But I think that it very much ties into Thorfinn's journey of trying to finish that cycle and not continue to be violent going forward, even though a bunch of violence was done towards him. And the idea of loving your enemy is something that he definitely has not done in previous parts of his life. So carrying that forward and that idea forward is interesting. And I love that we haven't seen, we only got his name the one time, but this escaped slave that has been going around, we haven't actually seen any of his violence, right? We've seen the results of it, but it's all been symbolized through other things, right? We've had the tapestries, we had the axe coming down, right? We've seen the results of his actions, but we haven't actually seen him in action, right? I also think that it's interesting now that we have the confirmation that he has a wife of some kind, that he left the woman and baby alive at the previous farm, who may or may not have been a wife for whatever. I'm assuming that the baby was the slave owners, so whether or not that is his wife or not, I don't know, but leaving those two alive I feel like is very symbolic of his own experience. I was like, oh, that's interesting that he would leave those two alive but not anyone else, and then having that connect with the fact that he also has a wife and supposedly a family, or may have had plans for a family, that kind of carries that character arc forward. He does seem a little bit unhinged though, and I can understand part of that given the circumstances that he is in, and I'm sure what has been done to him, that would be something that would deeply affect you on a mental level, and your ability to interact with the world and your sense of morality and empathy would definitely be skewed because of that. But maybe now that he's reconnecting with some people that I'm assuming he knew before he became a slave, that'll ground him a little bit more than just violently lashing out because he's around these people that he has all of these terrible memories associated with them. I don't know, but I'm super tense because I'm waiting for the moment. I feel like there's all these ominous undertones of specific things being like set up about how the farm is going to be attacked, and it's just a matter of what is going to happen in the meantime and how it's going to be set up. But it's nice that after some intense episodes checking in on other characters' stories, we left the farm for a little bit, that coming back we get to see these more lighthearted moments and the way that they can care for each other and laugh and bring each other joy, even given the circumstances, even given what they've been through, even what has brought them together, is nice, optimistic, which just makes me more nervous about what's going to happen, because I feel like it's going to be a very strong contrast. It's going to be jarring in how quickly we shift from that kind of experience and content to some of the more intense things that I'm sure are going to happen. But I hope you enjoyed watching that along with me. You can click this playlist to go to my previous reactions, or you can subscribe so next time I post a Vinland Saga reaction. I will see you in the next video. Bye.